Hi, my name is Catherine Ritlaw. I run Journey's End Ranch Animal Sanctuary in northern Arizona. We have 17 rescued equines here, burros and horses and dogs and some other animals. I would like to say that I support New York Animal Rights Alliance America in their efforts to end horse slaughter in the United States. I first learned about horse slaughter when I was 9 years old, and my mother and grandmother took me to a horse auction because I was a horse-loving kid, and they thought that would be a fun trip to take. And at the auction, we discovered that a lot of the horses were going to end up going to slaughter. That was in 1963, and it's very dismaying to me to know that all these years later, we still are sending 130,000 horses to slaughter every year in this country. I'm going to go grab the camera so you can see the horses while I speak instead of looking at me. Thank you. We closed down American slaughterhouses some years ago, but we're still shipping about 130,000 horses a year to slaughter in Mexico and Canada. The horses that go to Mexico are really barbarically killed because they stab them multiple times in the spine with a knife, and needless to say, that's not a nice way to die. Also, when we had slaughterhouses open in the United States, they used a captive bolt, which is also what they use in Canada. I believe some slaughterhouses also shoot them. And Dr. Lester Friedlander, who's the former chief USDA inspector, said that the captive bolt does not work on horses. It's inhumane. It often does not work. Many horses are conscious, and that they are only stunned for about 30 seconds, so they're actually butchered alive. There is no humane way to slaughter horses. They're sensitive, intelligent animals. They don't stand still like cattle do for the captive bolt to work. Also, the proponents of horse slaughter would have you think that most of the horses going to slaughter are old or ill or something, and they're not. Most are young and healthy. The problem in this country is we have huge overbreeding of horses. A lot of the horse breed associations encourage breeding. They get their registration fees and everything else from the breeding of horses. The thoroughbred industry actually sends 60% of thoroughbreds to slaughter by the time they're 5 years old. So if they don't make it in the racing industry or they get injured on the track, they don't get retired, or they don't find them good homes. They ship them to slaughter. I first learned of slaughter when I was 9 years old in 1963 when we had a summer house in Connecticut, and my mother and grandmother saw that there was a horse auction in town, and they thought that would be a nice little trip to take. So we went to the horse auction, and a lot of the horses there were people's pets and backyard horses and ponies, and that's where we learned about horse slaughter. Regretfully, it's been going on all these years, and it continues to go on, because people are irresponsible. They're breeding too many animals, and they're not taking responsibility for the animals in their care or that they create. We don't eat horses in the United States. Most of the horse meat gets shipped to Japan and Europe, France, Belgium, and it's considered a delicacy there. They pay high dollar for it. So it's a big industry, but it's cruel and inhumane. The other thing is, most horses have been treated with drugs and chemicals like phenylbutazone and dewormers that are considered toxic for humans, and horses that have even had these drugs once or twice are considered unfit for human consumption for forever. And yet this toxic meat is being shipped to other countries and people are eating it. It's very dismaying to know that we're still doing this. It's barbaric and inhumane. Even when the slaughterhouses in the United States were open, the transportation to them was very inhumane. Horses are stacked into double-decker cattle trucks oftentimes. They're packed in like sardines. They don't get food or water for several days en route to the slaughterhouse. They trample each other. They're frightened. Some of them die during the trip from injuries and being trampled to death. It's just not an acceptable way to end a horse's life. If you have a horse that you can no longer keep and it's not usable and you can't find a home for it, you need to get the veterinarian out to put it to sleep humanely like you would a dog or a cat. There's a group called Veterinarians for Equine Welfare, and they say that it's inhumane and an unacceptable way to end a horse's life under any circumstances. And I greatly applaud this group of veterinarians who are willing to speak out. So please support legislation, contact your representatives and urge them to ban the slaughter of horses once and for all in this country, to ban their slaughter, to ban their transportation to slaughterhouses in other countries. And let's stop breeding too many horses and take responsibility for the ones that we bring into the world, because they deserve it. Mankind's civilization was totally dependent on the horse. They've served us for thousands of years, and they do not deserve to be treated inhumanely and sent to slaughter. This little horse, Renee, here was actually at a feedlot with her friend that's back there, Wendy, and they were about to ship to a Mexican slaughterhouse 2.5 years ago when they were rescued out of the feedlot, and they came here. They're both former wild horses, Mustangs that the BLM captured, and were used in Mexican rodeo for horse tripping, which is very cruel, and received injuries from that, so they're not usable, and they have emotional issues, needless to say. So they were rescued from slaughter, and no horse deserves that way of ending their life. Thank you.